Real fast before we get going, just want to let you know about the Central Indiana Sports Report's daily report every day at 1 p.m. It's our Sports Center style scoreboard show featuring professional college and high school sports in Central Indiana. We also talk about some major national sports news, anything that Central Indiana sports fans might be interested in. Available every weekday at 1 p.m. Weekends are a little less consistent. You are listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report podcast number 236.3, the Delaware County Report with the Muncie Star-Press sports editor, Cade Hampton. This week we talk about Delaware County High School baseball and softball, including Tuesday night's thrilling baseball softball split doubleheader between Daleville and Westdale, about all the good high school baseball in Delaware County, and some Ball State football, baseball, and softball.
You're listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report with your host, Greg Mengelt.
Kate, I was going to start with some Ball State baseball today, but man, you saw a thriller tonight, didn't you?
That I did, yeah. Not Wapahani, Westdale and Daleville softball played quite a thriller tonight. It was a miraculous comeback, and Westdale ended up winning it 5-4. So really good game out there. It was not a very high-scoring game. Obviously, Daleville had, I think, all four of Daleville's runs were unearned.
Yeah.
Westdale's pitcher, Bailey West, she had a heck of a game. She had 16 strikeouts and didn't give up an earned run, even though Daleville scored 4. None of them were earned. So really good game for the senior pitcher. And then, Westdale, I mean, offensively really couldn't seem to get anything going. They had some runners on, but couldn't get anybody across. And then in the middle innings, they just kind of got shut down completely. But that bottom of the 7th, they just finally got some things going. And then Daleville had a couple of crucial errors of their own. And they had one big one in the 7th that I think if they hadn't made that error, they probably would have won that game. And then in the 9th inning, when Westdale needed a score, Daleville made 2 more errors that were pretty crucial and ended up giving Westdale the walk-off run. So a couple of kinks to work out for Daleville. They were missing Reagan Jackson, who's one of their better players. So not at full strength. They had a couple players playing out of position. And, early in the season, they got some kinks to work out. But really talented Daleville team and very exciting Mid-Eastern Conference matchup tonight.
And Daleville and Westdale played each other in baseball as well, and that was a great one.
Yeah, that one was going on right behind me. I actually wasn't as focused on that game. I was kind of focusing more on the softball game and kind of floating back and forth, checking in on baseball as I went. But yeah, it was another, kind of a comeback, but it was kind of the other side. Daleville was the team that went down. I think it was 7-1 or 7-3 at one point. It was not looking good. I think, it was 5-1, and then they cut it to 5-3, and then it was 7-3, and then Daleville came all the way back in the top of the 7th inning and tied it up at 7. So it was looking like we were going to get 2 games of extra innings happening right next to each other, but Westdale ended up coming back in the bottom of the 7th and scoring the 1 run they needed to make it 8-7. So 2 wins for Westdale, 2 walk-off wins, and yeah, just good night to be a Warrior, bad night to be a Bronco.
All right, well, let's talk about what I originally asked you to come on here to talk about. Although on the Delaware County report here, we can talk about anything you want Delaware County related, but want to talk about some Ball State baseball. That's a team that's been on a roll. Got a win today, and that's 4 in a row. And of course, you were just out there to see them for Coach Maloney's 1,000th win. What did you see from that team?
Yeah, I mean, that game, I don't think it really went how they were expecting. They were playing, I think it was Purdue Fort Wayne or something like that, and ended up being, they had to make kind of a comeback win there. but yeah, they seem like a really well-rounded team. They have a lot of offensive firepower. They're hitting the ball well, and they've got the pitching support to where they can survive and still win in a pitcher's duel. But yeah, I mean it's pretty easy to feel good about Ball State baseball. I mean, first place in the MAC, and Ball State softball. I know they're not up there. I think they're something like third or fourth in the MAC last time I
Right.
checked, but
But very
both of those
competitive.
teams, I mean, having some great seasons and hitting the ball really well, two really good offensive teams.
And Ball State football, of course, had its spring showcase, and you've been breaking some Ball State football news lately. What's going on with the Cardinals?
Yeah, a lot to be excited about as far as spring practice. There were a lot of guys who showed some things at the spring showcase, and I mean, you got to start with the most important position at quarterback. And Kyle Kelly really seems like he has come back and taken a firm hold of that starting job. And I would expect to see the Colorado transfer, Walter Taylor. I would expect to see him kind of mix in a little bit and maybe do some design run type plays. But I think the job is definitely Kyle Kelly's. And then a lot of new faces. They, whole new coaching staff, and they really went hard in the transfer portal. But Eric Weatherly at wide receiver, he's a much smaller guy, but he's, I think, going to be really fun to watch. And they got some really nice, speedy running backs with Quay Ashley, who transferred from Kennesaw State, and then Elijah Jackson from Purdue, who Jackson, his speed is just different. I mean, he is a different level. I mean, he was a track star in high school, and he had one run at Purdue last year where he just took off, and he really flashed that speed on Saturday. So, going to be exciting. I think there's a lot of really fast guys like that on the offense that'll be fun to watch, and then defensively, I would expect the defense to improve. They have a lot more starters coming back this year compared to last year, and then with the defensive coordinator, Jeff Knowles. He has been here for 2 seasons now, and he kind of has a lot of guys who are now more familiar with his system in place. And I think that's going to really help them out on that side of the ball.
What's next for the team?
The spring transfer portal window opens tomorrow. And by my count, the Cardinals already have 6 players who have announced their intentions to enter that portal. So we've got, a 10-day window here, the middle of the off season after all the spring practices have ended. And so, another week, 2 weeks of roster management where we'll see some more new faces come in, and we'll see some old faces walk out. So going to be an interesting time, and I'll have it all covered in the Star-Press. I've got a Ball State football transfer portal tracker, and going to just be updating that pretty much every day for the next couple of days.
And where can people follow you on social media for updates?
I am on X, the social media platform formerly known as Twitter, and my handle is Cade Hamp 10 with the number 10 instead of TON at the end of my name.
Very clever.
I always feel like Prince,
Yes.
the
Yeah.
love symbol, the artist
I
formerly known as Prince, when I
I
talk about
almost
X.
sang "My Name Is Prince" as you were saying that. Cade, we talked about it a little earlier with Westdale and Daleville, two very good baseball teams. It looks like Cowan has some really good arms and may have a really good baseball team. Wapahani, the record doesn't show it yet, but that is obviously a sectional contending team. Yorktown already beat Delta. We already know how good Delta is. It looks like a really good baseball year in Delaware County.
Yeah, I mean, there are just a lot of really good teams around here. You mentioned Cowan. I mean, what a season that they have started off having. I mean, Thomas Brooks with a no-hitter the other night, and then Luke Garrett had a phenomenal pitching performance the other night himself, and then just tonight he had 3 hits at the plate. So
Right.
they seem like a team that can really beat you anyway. Whether they do it with their arms or they do it with their bats. I think Cowan's going to be one to watch, and then Yorktown also not a great result tonight for them, but that win over Delta, I know Yorktown always loves to beat Delta, and when you can start a season off with the win over a team like that that's expected to be really good, that goes a long way. So, as far as Delta, you mentioned, the record, kind of like Wapahani, the record really doesn't show it, but they're a really good team. They return
Yeah,
a lot of experience, and I expect them to kind of get into a groove and
and they
start picking
got
up some
arms
more
too.
wins. Yeah, absolutely.
They've got 3 or 4 guys that you would consider ace level kind of pitchers. So yeah, like you said, not the start that you want, but I think Delta's kind of the given. What happens in the regular season isn't going to be that concerning. Delta's going to be a given, I think, in the postseason that they're gonna be there and be a factor.
Yeah, and from what I've heard talking to people around here, it seems like Delta always kind of starts a little bit slow and just kind of picks things up as they go along. So hopefully, you hope that trend continues for them. But yeah, just not an ideal start, but they have the talent, they have the coaching, and they know that expectations are a lot higher. So I expect them to turn it around sooner rather than later. As far as the other teams go, Daleville, I know I talked about them a bit, but what a start to the season they had, going 4-0. Really strong comeback win over Muncie Central there.
Yeah,
That was a good game that I was at. I think it was like 9-8 was the final, and really just great game by them. So they've got a really deep team. Westell was impressive tonight. I mean, going in there and beating that Daleville team, and
yeah,
we talked a little bit about Wapahani. The Raiders are good too. They beat the mess out of Westell the other day. I think it was like
right.
17-0 was the final. And
I would
yeah,
say
Wapahani,
that, yeah, that team looks like, and that's going to be an awfully tough sectional that they're going to be a part of, but they look like they're going to be one of the teams that's right there.
yeah, for sure. And I think one big thing that has helped Wapahani is Eli Andrews kind of reintroducing himself to baseball. He started on the basketball court. His older brother Isaac was the guy for Wapahani
Right.
basketball last year and is the all-time leading scorer for Delaware County. But Eli, rejoined the baseball team this year. I don't think he's played baseball in something like 2 or 3 years, and I mean he's just tanking them. I think he has at least 2 home runs this season. I saw one in person, and then I saw his dad tweet a video of one that he hit today. So really cool thing to see for Mr. Andrews there, and yeah, Wapahani has definitely a lot to feel good about.
All right. Today is Wednesday. It's Wednesday morning. What else you got the rest of this week, Cade, that you're going to be working on?
Well, I think tomorrow, Thursday, I am going to head out to Cowan. Haven't gotten a chance to see them in person yet, but I'm going to go catch them. And they're playing another one of my local teams, Shenandoah, who is they are off to a absurd start at the plate. I mean, the offensive firepower on that team, they're led by Colin Austinball, who's a Louisville baseball commit. But man, they've got a lot of kids who can hit on that Shenandoah team, and that's going to be a tough team. That's
Boy, that
I
conference is
think
loaded.
is yeah, that whole MEC. I mean, you look at Cowan, Wapahani, Westell, Daleville, Shenandoah,
Eastern
Monroe
Hancock.
Central's in there too. Yeah,
E-
Eastern, yeah, and Monroe Central. I mean, I didn't even get to them, but they've got a pretty darn good squad as well. Carter Duncan is
Always do. Yeah.
looking like one of the best players in the area, and so yeah, I mean, a lot of good baseball around here. Lots of good baseball. A lot of teams to be excited about for sure.
Thank you so much once again to Cade for joining the Central Indiana Sports Report. Love having him on the podcast. Like Grant, a really good young talent in the media business. Love having him on the podcast talking Ball State and Delaware County sports. And thank you so much for listening. If you're interested in the Central Indiana Sports Report continuing to grow and thrive, please share these segments with your friends and family. We humbly thank you in advance.